Hey guys, I'm the Maha Mechanic, and today I'm going to be doing a control arm rebuild on this Porsche 944. Now this is going to include installing obviously new control arms, new control arm bushings, and new ball joints. So everything that's connected to the control arm, besides the sway bar, is going to be brand new. So let's get into it. Now I am filming this after I've already done everything. So if in the video I say I'm just doing the bushings, I was originally just going to do the bushings until I found out how hard it was to actually remove the bushings, especially like just the rear one is pretty much impossible to remove. So I just decided to go with new control arms. So just know that if I say that we're going to be just replacing the bushings, that we are going to be doing everything. You'll see later in the video. But yeah, so let's get started with that. So now that we got it in the air, we want to of course remove our front wheels. So let's do that now. So I'm going to first remove our sway bar here. 2 bolts, one right here, one on the other side that go through the control arm. You can see them right there. So we're going to remove those real quick. So these are our 13mm bolts. Just go ahead, or 13mm nuts I should say. Just go ahead and loosen these up. There's one. There's also a lock washer on there, so make sure to take that off and keep them together. And there are other 2. So now we can just pull this out, and but before we do that, I'm gonna remove the other side so that we can take the sway bar and swing it down away from the control arm. So as you can see here, basically I just that side was a little stuck, so I just pried it down a little bit and letting this just hang, I rotated it a little bit. So now this is out of our way, we can remove our ball joint, like the ball joint from the knuckle, so that it's just connected to the control arm. And then we are going to remove the bolts for our bushings. So let's first remove the bolt for our ball joint. So if we come underneath, look where the ball joint is right here. Just follow it up a little bit. So we're gonna remove this nut on here, and it should come free. We might have to just pry it down a little bit just to get it free. So let's do that now. And there we go. Set that aside and put the washer on it. And now we should be able to pry it off pretty easily now. Now we got our ball joint here separated from the steering knuckle. We can take the nuts from the bushings off. Coming under, following the control arm back, here's our rear bushing, and they have some 17mm bolts on it. I'm gonna remove those. There's one. And there's the other. Now that this is free, we can work our way up to the front where it meets the cross member, and remove that bolt right there. So before I get my impact on this one, it's pretty greasy or dirty or whatnot. I'm gonna take a brush to it to clean it up. Now this nut up here is a 19, and I'm going to be using a 3/4 wrench on the other side to hold the... Just like that. Now to get this bolt out, I'm going to apply some upwards pressure, but I'm also going to move the tie rod so that I'm not hitting that boot. So now I can just take it out. Now I'm going to use an extension, just tap it through a little bit more, and there it goes. Alright, so I decided to remove the sway bar from this side so that I could just pull the tie rod end away so I could get the bolt out here. You could have just taken off the tie rod bolt, but I didn't want to back this nut out just because I just replaced them. It's got a new nylon lock nut on it, and I don't really want to back that off. So I left. You can leave the tie rod connected, but you're just gonna have to. I don't know if this bend from this bend right here, I don't know if that's from the factory. It looks like it is, but that makes it so that this is too close to the tie rod end to actually pull it out, to be able to pull the tie rod end over and get the bolt out. So yeah, that's what I did. I got the bolts out, and now I'm gonna start wiggling this control arm. Start wiggling this and take it off. And just like that, it's out. So we can get to pressing out the old ones. So I'm gonna show you how to take the old ones out. This one's fairly simple. It's got like this collar that goes around it. Just pop this off. It's a little tight on there. Here we go. Pop that little shackle off, and then this will slide out that way off the end. So my parts just came in, our new control arms here, and before I put it back in there, we're just going to be pressing the new bushings in. The bottom ones will go in there. Or I mean the top ones, the front ones, whatever, go in there. The rear ones slide on the end of this rod right here. And we're also going to be putting on our ball joints here. These are nice because the old ones, as you can see here, have rivets. So if you were going to just replace the ball joints and none of the bushings on the lower control arms, you'd have to drill out these rivets and then put in the ball joint. But these already have holes in them, so that'll make it nice and easy for these ball joints, because they come with screws and just made up there perfectly. So yeah, so I'm gonna take not that control arm because I already messed that up. I don't know the orientation of this stuff. I'm going to take the other control arm as like a frame of reference and see which way I need to press in these bushings here. And I'm going to be using a ball joint press kit from Advance Auto Parts, just because they have the one that has the most attachments here, if you can see. It just has most attachments. If you go to O'Reilly's, they'll have just like probably like these, like just main ones. But Advance has all the it's 23 pieces, just in case you need one. While we're over here, I'll grab this one. So this one was off of the driver's side. It sat there like this. So if you see here, you can kind of see little nubs on the sides of the bushings, and this side doesn't have any nubs. This one's pretty easy because the flat spot goes directly up towards the car. So we just have to get the orientation of the control arm correct before we start pushing that one on, just so we know which one, like what side it needs to be flipped up on. So anyway, we're looking at these nubs. They are on the frontmost side. So if we come over here to our new bushing, see those nubs on here? So that means that we're going to be pressing it in just like this, so that the nubs are facing the front. I'm going to lube this up with some soapy water and just press that in just so that doesn't stick. So yeah, I'm gonna set my camera up and then start using a combination of whatever I can find in there to use to press these bushings in. So I'm just gonna take some soapy water and just spray down all my surfaces. Like that. Spray down the bushing. Now I can start pressing the bushing in. I'm just going to do it as tight as I can with my hands. Looks like it's already pushing it in. And then I'll get a ratchet. So I'm going to go get a ratchet now, just so I can do it faster. So, I'm going to look at how it looks on the other control arm. I'm going to go to about there. So, as you can see here, it's seated pretty much perfectly in the control arm. Basically, I just used the C press. Oh my God. Until I was pressing it in this way. I pressed it until metal sleeve started to go inwards, and then I just backed it out and it seated very nicely. I just put the end of the open end of the C clamp press or whatnot, the open end of the press on this lip, this end over here, and it worked a charm. So we can do that to the other one, and then we can start getting which I think are going to be the hardest ones to get on, or the more challenging ones to get on, the rear ones. So let's get our other bushing in our other control arm. So just a quick comparison for you guys. You can see the difference between the two. This one's nice and the rubber is nice and fresh, and this rubber is kind of, well, for lack of better words, crappy, cracked, and old. Very, very old. So this is it's definitely needed to be done, and yeah, it's good. This big bushing on the end of this little rod here. Make sure you look at the orientation. The flat side should be flat against the frame of the car, and the shackle will go around like this. Basically what I'm doing is I just set it in the orientation that I want it, and then I got it started with a rubber mallet just to get it on there and in the good position, and then I took I'm taking a hammer and just hammering it down until it gets seated in place where it should be. Well, I severely beat the crap out of it, but all that matters is that it's on there. It's seated nicely. I decided to spray some soapy water on it like I did the other one, like the other bushing, this bushing, and it went on with just a couple hits. So rest in peace this one. It should still work, but if you want to know the easiest way, just spray some soapy water on the rod and inside the circle, or inside the sleeve here, and just get it started, and then a few big hits and she'll be on there. So now moving on to the ball joints. So like I said before, if you're doing this just to the regular control arms that are already on the car, like the factory ones, you're gonna have to drill out the rivet holes. But these new control arms that I got, you don't need to do that. They come with these screws and the ball joint itself, just like that. So these are going to fit in here, sandwiched in between the control arm, just in this little gap here, just like that. And then I'm just going to feed, I'm going to put the nuts on top with the crush washers all on top, just because that's how they did it for the sway bar connections here. So, you know, might as well do it the way that the other things on the control arm are done. Well, now I gotta go find them all real quick. Feed these through here and just throw these on. Now, there aren't any instructions on here as to what the torque spec should be, but here's the part number and everything for these. I got these off of Pelican Parts. I'll leave the links to all the things that I bought and where I bought them in the description. So I think that's the easiest ball joint installation that I've ever done. If you want to see me doing another ball joint installation where you have to press a ball joint in, click up here. That'll take you to that video. But I'm going to get these tightened down more, and then we can put these on the car. So I'm going to start with this side control arm. So just put the bolt through the bushing, just like this. There we go. Now I'm lining up the ball joint steering knuckle here. Push it up. So it took quite a bit of wiggling around to get the ball joint in. But once you have it in, just feed that through there. So I'm just putting the shackle back on the rear bushing. So I finally fixed my mistake. I stripped the bolt hole in the frame with a bad, the threads on the bolt, this bolt, were pretty bad, and I decided to, you know, send them up anyways, and that was a bad idea. So I thread tapped the hole and the bolt, yep. So you guys got more content to watch if you want to watch or want to know how to rethread or clean up the threads on a bolt and rethread a hole. If that video isn't already out, it will be soon. So I got these now all snugged up, and if we go to our torque spec here, control arm to body is 34 foot-pounds, so we're going to torque them down to 34. That feels good. So 48 foot-pounds. There we go. So now that we got these bolts torque down a bolt for our ball joint. So this one gets torqued down to 37 foot-pounds. Now we're done with this side. We can hop on to the other side, do the same exact thing, but once we have the other side on, we can reinstall our sway bar. We've got new control arms, new control arm bushings, and new ball joints. So that will conclude this video. So yeah, if you guys found this informative and helpful, please be sure to leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel for more. It helps me out a lot. Yeah, as always, keep on improving.